Hello out there, and welcome to Plastic Action Jockeys. We are a new YouTube channel, and we will be bringing you reviews, unboxings, and displays of action figures, toys, and collectibles of all shapes and scales. Thank you for joining us today. I am Jockey7. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1/6 scale Dead Soldier action figure from Art Figures. He's numbered AF-021. The Dead Soldier is an unlicensed action figure of Deadshot from the Suicide Squad film that was released last summer, summer of 2016. Deadshot was, of course, played by actor Will Smith, and you can see the figure is clearly created in his likeness. So let's discuss that likeness to start things off. As you can see in the video, the likeness is not spot on to be perfect to Will Smith. Being unlicensed, I imagine, is probably the driver for that. You can still tell who it's supposed to be, though, and from several angles that are not from a directly straight-on view, the likeness is more accurate, I think. I believe that you can even kind of see that from some of the shots on the box art. The likeness is not as accurate as the upcoming Hot Toys Deadshot release later this year, though. Let's go ahead and just say that. The outfit for the figure, though, is very well done. I think it fits the figure well. The colors are vibrant, but they're not overdone. The suit is textured as well, which is kind of a nice touch to the figure. His pants fit him tightly, but they have military pockets down the legs on each leg, and you can store small accessories inside those if you desire that. I would advise against it, as all the Dead Soldier's accessories that are included, they have a holster or a place to be stored on the figure that isn't in those pockets. So you don't really want to risk breaking or damaging anything on the figure if it's not a necessity or a desired effect. The Dead Soldier also has boots, and they're fairly detailed and look good on his feet. However, the feet are not articulated at the ankles, so you don't quite have the same posable feet that you would get with most 1/6 scale action figures. The Dead Soldier includes two sets of hands, and the hands have gloves attached to them that slide up the lower arm and hide the wrist joint when you attach them, which looks pretty solid on the figure, I think. I thought that was kind of a cool touch. The hands have a gun holding set for the pistols or the long rifle, which you see my example holding in the video. And also they have a set of hands with bendable, posable fingers, which I found to be really pliable and a cool addition, instead of just, a neutral straight set of hands. Deadshot made several different hand gestures in the movie that weren't just a neutral hand. And I think it was nice to be able to pose him in one of those said hand gestures when he's pointing his finger in Rick Flag's face in the film. Dead Soldier includes a lot of accessories. It really is a good amount of accessories. So let's run them down. So he includes his long rifle with the I am the light, the way inscription down on the barrel. He includes three pistols. One that goes on his right leg, and then two that go on a holster on his back. He includes two wrist guns, which should be noted are very tricky to install. They have three individual buckles on each one of the wrist straps, and tweezers are definitely going to be needed to thread the buckles when you put those on. It was quite tricky and took a little bit of time. Now with tweezers, I was able to do it, but I had to have a little patience because everything's so small. It's really hard to work with. He includes one knife that is attachable to his leg, 6 clips for his leg holstered pistol, and 2 clips for the pistols on his back, and then 3 extra clips for the rifle that has the inscription on the barrel. His mask is also included, which is a soft and squishy plastic, but it was also fairly difficult to get all the way onto the head. His eyepiece and headset, which is removable from the head, but it also stays on very well when you attach it to his head. His chest, back, and shoulder armor. That's something we should probably discuss. They can be tricky to install potentially. The armor has miniature clips like on a backpack to open and then put the armor on, and then you reclasp those clips and it would close the armor back up. I had trouble with one of mine, so I attempted to kind of stretch the armor the rest of the way on. One of the bands on the right side on his back snapped out and broke. As you can see in the video, the armor is still on the figure all the way. It's just not quite stretched across the back as far as it should be. So be careful with the clasps on this one, is the moral of the story. They can really be tricky for sure. His knee pads are also included, which they attach via these little buttons. They have these little like snap down buttons, which were a little tricky to attach, but not as bad as the clasps on his upper body armor. He also includes a waist strap that you can attach all of his clips on in the front, and then his double holster in the back on as well. Now, unfortunately, he does not include a figure stand of any kind, which is kind of disappointing given that in order to pose the figure at all, a stand is really needed, given that those ankles are not articulated. So you kind of have to bend the foot at the knee, bend the leg at the knee in order to really pose things. The stands shown here in the video are separate third-party purchases that I made, so you will have that added expense with this figure. But figure stands can also be purchased, fairly reasonably online on eBay or some e-tailer sites. Dead Soldier's packaging would definitely be considered what I would call second tier. The standard in 1/6 scale figure packaging is really Hot Toys. This does not really compare to a Hot Toys box. This figure has the art sleeve shown in the video, but beneath it is a nondescript black box that just opens up like a book with magnets closing the cover and a foam insert inside that has cutouts for the figure and the accessories. The figure really has to be displayed outside of its box in order to be, appreciated and seen. I mean, you get a good view of the figure on the front of the art box, but it still doesn't quite do it justice because the direct front view doesn't necessarily look as much like Will Smith. So, with all of this being said, the figure is $100 less than the Hot Toys figure will cost later this year. And the only items that are not included with this art figure's release compared to that Hot Toys release are a figure stand, a more substantial box, one additional set of hands, and more detailed inscriptions on the pistols that have Deadshot's insignia toward the back of the hammers. And the head sculpt is, of course, a more accurate depiction of Will Smith on the Hot Toys release. So, given all of this info about the figure, is it worth buying? Should you waste your time, or should you, waste your time on this figure, I guess I should say, or should you wait and get the Hot Toys figure and not waste your time on this release? Well, it kind of depends on what you want out of your 1/6 scale collection personally, and how open you are to having, I guess, lesser known brands in your collection. Art Figures doesn't have the portfolio of Hot Toys, Sideshow, or even Enter Bay, but for me, the figure is a solid representation of Deadshot, and I am not bothered by the name of Dead Soldier on the box. And the less than perfect head sculpt of Will Smith isn't the end of the world for me, nor the lack of a figure stand. I prefer a stand that has a much smaller footprint in a lot of cases, as I like to put them in figure dioramas and they look better. So I would say the figure is worth its price of admission and is worth a purchase. It has solid detail to it, a good amount of accessories for the money, and the figure is well made, aside from the armor, of course. I would have, of course, preferred that my armor didn't break, but that happens with 1/6 scale figures, from all the manufacturers from time to time. So it is what it is, and isn't the end of the world. If you aren't dead set on having the Hot Toys version of Deadshot because you want the many chokers or the Harley Quinns or Batman figures that are coming out, then I would say this is very worthy of being in your collection. I wanted to have this character in my collection, but he's not like a centerpiece to my Batman collection necessarily, so this version was just right up my alley and just fine for me. This Dead Soldier figure is available now from various e-tailers and on eBay as well. My example was purchased on eBay for $150, and that completes our first 1/6 scale action figure review on Plastic Action Jockeys. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw in this video, please hit like and subscribe to our channel.